Economic Justice Town Hall. Please welcome to the stage, founder and host of TYT, Cenk Uygur.
How you all doing? Look at all my rowdy friends here in Cleveland. I love this. All right. So we got a great show ahead for you guys. You guys are going to love it. I already feel the energy. I already love what's happening here. So this is an economic justice town hall, as you all know. And there's two hosts of it. I am one of the hosts. The other host is who I'm going to introduce you to now. He's a rapper, a businessman, and an activist. His name is Michael Render, but you might know him as AKA Killer Mike.
How you doing?
Good. Here you go. Now, the subject of our town hall is someone else you might be familiar with. She was a Cleveland City Councilor, and she was a state senator in Ohio. She was the president of Our Revolution. She was the campaign co-chair of Bernie Sanders' presidential campaign in 2020. And she is the Nina Turner. That's right. Well, we're here in Cleveland today because obviously Nina Turner is running for the 11th district in Ohio, which is right here in Cleveland, but also parts of Akron, and much love to all the folks and everybody in the 11th district, and running for Congress. And she's got a couple of folks a little rattled, as is to be expected. Okay. So, listen, before we get started real quick, I'm going to lose the crowd instantly. So, I'm a lifelong Steelers fan. Okay. So, I know I'm doing great when I already got Nina to boo me. But you guys, the reason I tell you that is because my son, in order to get under my skin, has decided to become a Browns fan. And the Chargers are playing the Steelers and the Browns in LA this year, okay? And now that Nina's running in Cleveland, it's put me over the top. I got the Browns tickets, not the Steelers tickets. Okay, so we're here for you, Cleveland. We're here for you. All right, so this is about economic justice, and I know you all care about this deeply, and we all care about justice. So I want to get going here. We're going to ask Senator Turner questions here. Mike and I are for about an hour, and then we're going to have audience questions where you guys can get involved too, because it's a town hall. All right, so let's get started. So, Senator Turner, first question. What does economic justice mean to you?
Part of economic justice is the ability for everybody to be able to live their measure of the American dream without being prohibited from doing so. Economic justice means minimally clean water, clean air, clean food. It means the basics. It's being able to work at a job where you can make a living wage and not starvation wages. It's being able to afford child care if you need it. It is the ability to be able to take a vacation every now and then. You know, it doesn't have to be anything fancy, but people are being crushed in this nation and also in this district. Cleveland is the poorest city of its size in the United States of America. Akron, 23% poverty rate, half of children living in poverty. So economic justice is not just one thing, it is the intersection of things that make for economic justice.
First of all, I want to acknowledge that Ohio is the home to one of my absolute heroes. Besides you is a man named John Brown. And I got a chance to understand that class has an effect on me very young as much as race.
That's right.
And a lot of time when we talk about economic justice, in particular for the African American community, those who were brought here in bondage and used as capital for free for over 200 years, that feels like a very exclusive conversation. And it tends to separate itself from worker class white people, the same people that invented the word nigger, invented the word cracker, and they looked down on both groups of people. There were rich Southern planters in the South, and they used poor whites and blacks equally, and they used them against one another effectively so that no one worked effectively together. Could you just better help us understand how fighting for economic justice for the African American community that was never given it, and for the white working class community that has been denied it, how does them working in coalition for economic justice for the African American affect the greater community, which includes the poor white community?
I mean, if we build coalition with one another, and Michael, you talk a lot about allyship and co-conspirators, we'll get it a lot deeper and a lot faster. We're all interconnected. So no matter what they say in trying to separate us, the same tactics they used back then, they're using back now. If you're catching hell, it doesn't matter if you're black, you're white, you're Hispanic, you're indigenous, you're Asian, you're somewhere in between, you catching hell. Now, we do have to admit as a society, based on the racial strata of this society and based on how this nation was formed, that black people do catch a certain type of hell linked to chattel slavery in America, the stealing of our indigenous sisters and brothers, family and friends' land. So we know all of those things. But we must work together to form that coalition. And there are people throughout history who have formed coalitions with people regardless of ethnicity and race. And one of the most recent coalitions that was formed in the 20th century with Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. before he was assassinated. It was called the Poor People's Campaign. And then now we have the incredible Dr. William Barber bringing up the 21st century version of the Poor People's Campaign. In the 1980s, one more in the 20th century was Reverend Jesse Jackson and the Rainbow Coalition. And that's what we see right now.
First started by Fred Hampton, I must acknowledge.
Well, yes, absolutely. Got to talk about Fred Hampton. You're absolutely right about that. Right, the Rainbow yeah, absolutely. So people have been trying to get us to understand that for a very long time.
Well, let me pick up on that. How do we get beyond the politics of right and left? Because that's where we're stuck right now. And so we've got poor people and middle class people, to Mike's point, that are African American and Latino and white, et cetera, and they're fighting each other instead of realizing what's actually causing the problem. So one, what is causing the problem? And then two, we'll get into how do we fix it? How do we bring people together? And that's both an easy and a hard question.
Yeah.
But what do you think is creating that economic injustice in the first place?
The system was created and it's doing exactly what it was designed to do. I mean, Cenk, you talked about right, left. No, this is about right or wrong. You know, is it right or wrong that somebody has a living wage? Is it right or wrong to have paid family medical leave? Is it right or wrong to cancel student debt? Is it right or wrong to make sure that no matter who you love, how you identify, that you get the opportunity to live a good life too? Is it right or wrong to have clean air, clean food, clean water? Is it right? This boils down to right or wrong. It's just that simple. You know, grandma and I know Michael and our grandmothers went to the same school. This is simple. This is show enough, as my grandmother would say, simple.
Yeah.
It's about right or wrong.
Yeah.
Let me ask you in matters of progressives, because you have actually, I remember after 16, I was done. And you called me like, man, we got to do it again. I'm like, who is we? You said us. For people who are progressively minded have to raise a stir. We have to make some noise. The squeaky wheel gets the oil. And I went into the second Sanders campaign, and I went in with more doubt, not because I didn't think the politician was progressive enough. He was surrounded by people like you. I felt good about it. But you know, nationally, I just felt like we had fallen into the soap opera of the villain and who would be the perfect white knight to come in and dethrone him. But what I realized as we were in South Carolina in 16 and I saw the DNC try to sabotage their strongest candidate, what I realized when I saw people like Clyburn, which I don't have a problem with in South Carolina for the good work he's done, but I think it's incredibly stupid to not cut a deal before you get someone elected president, and the only thing he gives a federal holiday and nothing tangible out of it.
You better talk about it.
And that criticism is with love. because I'm gonna still come through your state and I don't want the state troopers to stop me. But what I realized is you got folks taking the bag on both sides. And you have people in the Democratic and Republican parties that are far more loyal to the people and corporations and the corporations that sponsor their running than they are to the people who actually vote to get them there. And there's almost been a shaming of progressives like yourself for calling out the bullshit.
Yeah.
And I stand in solidarity with you today. Lord knows, as much as I love Cleveland, I don't love the Indians and Browns enough to come up just on a, I didn't expect to be here, but if it were not for you, the strong, powerful, progressive voice, I wouldn't have got on that plane. But I'm on that plane in spite of all the bullshit that comes after getting you elected. I'm on that plane in spite of knowing the fact that Democrats are in bed with the same corporations that Republicans in. What can we do as a base to be better supportive of voices like yours in making a fuss under those gold domes so that those people hear us? Is it about getting big money out of politics?
Yes.
All right, we'll talk about it.
No, it is, Michael, and thank you for that. I'm so glad. And big ups to Shay. Shay, thank you.
Yeah, my wife put me on that plane. She didn't worry about me cheating in Cleveland. She knew y'all was on her side.
To the boss lady, definitely love Michael. And some really great things came out of the Sanders campaign in he announced in 2015, but 2016, and it is really being an allyship and co-conspiratorship with people like Michael. And we do, the collective we, there are more of us than there are of them, and we have to realize that. The world is as we dream it. One of our native folks talk about this. The world is as we dream it. So we can dream the world differently than how it exists today. What is true today does not have to be true tomorrow. Campaign finance reform is real, it is necessary, and any other great thing that we care about, whether it's the environment that brings you here, income and the income and wealth inequality, voting, name it, ERA, whatever your issue is, all of those things will be tainted and stopped because it is legal. Yes, Sister Turner said it is legal to bribe politicians in the United States of America. And Cenk, Michael brings up a very good point, the corporatist wing of both parties. Because poor Republicans should be working with poor Democrats.
Amen.
Amen.
That's it.
So, Nina, you're not going to get a lot of disagreement on this stage or in this room out of that comment. There's no question about that. And you're not going to get a lot of disagreement out of the voters. I mean, you go and talk to, you'll get Republican voters voting for you if you start talking about corruption, right? And remember, everybody, how Trump won. 3 magic words in 2016, drain the swamp, right? And by the way, he didn't say it in 2020 because he didn't do it, right?
No.
But he didn't say it in 2020 and he lost, right? So, but when you go to Washington, there's going to be a different world and there's going to be a ton of pressure. Again, this is not easy, but how in the world do you get past the pressure of all of the Democratic leadership saying, Nina, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, don't call out your colleagues who are Democrats, even if they take corporate money?
Because I answer to the people who sent me there. They're my colleagues, but I will answer to them.
Well, that was easy.
That was a great. I have a good one. I want to make sure I say it right. How can anyone, and I think everyone feels like this, how do we keep any faith in any politicians anymore? I was ready to quit. I'm gonna just say that I was like, hey man, this has been cool. I got rich. I'm chilling. I was like a Future record, like, man, I'm cool. But I saw her speak at a black college in South Carolina, and I was sitting there next to her. And it's funny that my clip went viral. My clip wasn't what should have went viral. Nina spoke in such a way in that church that I realized, like my grandmother trained me to be, I'm probably in this the rest of my life. I'm probably gonna be meandering around a school board or a mayoral race. And it's because of the passion that you invoke on that stage. I, unlike a lot of people, was brought into politics by an old black woman like my grandmother. I learned about Fannie Lou Hamer. I learned about Shirley Chisholm.
Yes.
On the local level, I saw Hosea Williams, who had marched with Dr. King, be just fierce on our just city council. And it's been easier for me to keep faith in the political process because of you and because of a few others. But what do we do as an audience right now and as a constituency to keep the faith? How do we produce more Nina Turners? How do we produce more local politicians that grow into national figures versus waiting to be given a national celebrity by each party? Because God bless Obama, he did an acting school or something first. You know, Trump's been entertaining me since I was 6, and I was like, Mom, who's the man with no hair in the belly? But how do we cultivate an environment here in Cleveland where, minus the hardship and struggle that you had to endure and overcome, but actually a garden of encouragement, can we create more progressive politicians from the ground up so that we're sending trustworthy people that answer to us to Washington versus corporatists?
Yeah, Mike, I mean, it's because of people like you, Cenk, and others all across this country. It's really the everyday voices. I believe that if ordinary people put a little extra on their ordinary, extraordinary things happen. You mentioned Fannie Lou Hamer. She was ordinary in that this society didn't treat her with the love and the respect that she deserved, but she did extraordinary things.
Absolutely.
I feel a cough coming.
You need some water?
I got a tickle in my throat. Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Come on. The devil won't stop it. Ain't gonna let no itchy throat stop this. I want to note that this is not a movie, and yet this looks eerily like that scene in the Fred Hampton movie where all people were together. So I want to acknowledge that to you guys. Thank you guys for making my day. You're absolutely beautiful, beautifully mixed crowd.
Yeah.
If I could say, I hope it doesn't end the same way, but.
No, I don't want to die. No. And if I die, it was the police.
In Cleveland, we have our own, she's no longer here in this plane of existence, but we have Fannie M. Lewis.
Yeah.
And she laid a very strong foundation in Cleveland, fighting for the people and standing up and not answering to a party. So it really is, I mean, although she was a Democrat, she didn't let that own her or control her. She did what she thought was right for her constituents in Huff. And she represented one of the poorest communities, and it still is to this day. She was the longest serving councilwoman on the Cleveland City Council. Huff riots took place. You know, my dad, who is here today, which I'm proud to have, give big ups to my dad. And I remember him telling me stories when those riots were happening and him trying to get home and running through people's backyards, you know, to try to get home. So I share that just to say that we don't have to wait. Don't wait for anybody's permission to do good. Just partner with some folks and just do good. Because over time, you are going to be proven right. Fannie Lou Hamer was proven right. Fannie M. Lewis was proven right. Mother Jones was proven right. Cesar Chavez was proven right. I mean, we could just name them, fill in the blank, was proven right. And it is because of those voices that certain people did not want to hear. Had they listened to the voices that did not want to hear them, we would not have had those revolutionaries in their own right be able to change the dynamics and the course of history in their own communities. We got to lift up each other. And that doesn't mean that we always have to agree, but that doesn't mean we have to seek to destroy one another either. If 9 times out of 10 you're with that person, or 8 times out of 10 you're with that person, then go with that person. We got to donate money to people who are running on a progressive agenda. They need money for the mission because these corporatist powers are not playing. And I'm facing that right now, you know, even in my own race. There are 13 people in this race. There's only one candidate that has called in forces outside of the district. Only one candidate put a red box up on their site. You know, Cenk, you talked about that. One, just one, calling in other forces to get into this race, to go negative. There's only one candidate that went to DC and had a fundraiser with pharmaceutical industry heads and oil industry heads. See, that is not the way that we're going to move the body politic in this nation to bend towards the will of the poor, the working poor, and the barely middle class. So what Sister Turner is saying, that despite all the money they may have and all the power they think they have, the ultimate power is in the hands of ordinary people just like us, putting a little extra on that ordinary.
I'll switch.
You can keep that.
Yeah, I'll switch. So, look, there's 1,000 things I want to say about that, right? Because we've beaten a lot of folks now, and when I say we, I mean you, right? A lot of folks with a lot more money, right? And we did that because we had the most important thing, which is faith. We believed. And we believed against all odds. I remember when we started Just Democrats, and I asked every pundit and every reporter I knew, and every one of them said, you will get either 0 or 1 Just Democrat, and then it'll be over. It's not going to be a thing. You don't just start a wing of a party. That's not a thing that happens. Well, they were wrong. They were dead wrong, okay? And there's 10 Justice Democrats now, all right? And Nina is a Just Democrat, and soon hopefully there'll be 11. And I tell you that because, look, it matters. Showing up matters. You guys showing up matters. Senator Turner showing up matters. We asked the other person in the race to do an interview. Equal time, equal everything, right? But they don't show up. So she didn't show up, okay?
That's all right.
So, and so, look, so when I tell you NinaTurner.com, I'm just saying, here's a person who showed up, you go show up and look at it, okay? And so that's the reality, and so a lot of people in this race are going, they're not asking you to go to their website, they're going to DC and raising that money. Now, if you raise money from the pharmaceutical industry, I got news for you, you're gonna work for the pharmaceutical industry, okay? And by the way, if you raise money from you work for you.
That's it.
Right?
That's it.
And so that leads me to one of the issues here, because one of the things we're talking about here are the issues. The other thing is how do you get them done, right? But I want to go back to the main event on the issues, right? So we just mentioned the pharmaceutical companies. Medicare for all is something that you've fought for, and by the way, a lot of these days, if you guys don't know, let me just tell you, every consultant will tell you, do not say Medicare for all. Use other language, okay? But Nina's saying Medicare for all anyway, okay? And that takes courage. Now, how a lot of folks, since it's never discussed in the mainstream media, might not realize that Medicare for all is directly related to economic justice.
That's right.
So tell us.
And racial justice too.
Yeah. So you're so powerful. You're blowing out every mic.
Wow. Hello.
I don't know. We got more mics out there. Okay. So if that one's not working, I'm going to give you this one. But tell everybody at home, how does Medicare for all relate to economic justice?
It's just like, where do I start? I mean, when I look at the poverty rate in this district, and then I've been blessed, you all, to be able to travel this country and see people just like the people who are in this room right now who need. You know, when I went out for Juneteenth and I was in the Larchmere area, and a young lady was vulnerable enough to tell me a story about how she has type 1 diabetes, and a 90-day supply of medicine cost her $4,000. And how she, on social media, communes with other people in a similar situation, but worse than hers, because she does have employer-sponsored health care, but her point to telling me that story is, one day I might not have employer-sponsored health care. What am I going to do? This is a lady that takes some of her insulin and ships it to other folks who don't have it. And you know, she said, Senator Turner, I want you to remember this point, if you don't remember anything else I just told you. I need this medicine to live. Hello, somebody, I need it to live. Multiply that. 1 million Ohioans lost their employer-sponsored health care in the state of Ohio. 1 million. We have millions of people who are already underinsured or uninsured when COVID hit. So let's not act like COVID. This suffering has been here all the time. The only thing that COVID did for us is to allow us to stop denying. I want to say something else, but my dad is here. Stop denying, because you know.
That's right.
My dad said I was raised up old school. You don't curse in front of your parents, But I can't. My sister can go there. I just want to tell you, I got another skill set, another language that I can speak. But it relates to economic justice because it is unjust in the wealthiest country on the face of the earth not to have Medicare for all, not to have universal health care. We are the only industrialized nation on the face of the earth not to have it. And that there have been generations of people fighting for this very same thing. We're not the first ones to stand up to say that this is wrong. There are people in every generation that recognize that this is wrong. One of my dear friends is here today named Dr. Victoria Dooley, and she lays it down. A medical doctor. She sees patients in her office on a regular basis that are going through the suffering of not being able to have health care. And doctors like her call it sick care, because it ain't health care, it's sick care. And when you lose your health care, and even the health care that you got, co-pays, deductibles, premium. You walk out of the doctor's office thinking you good, and before you get home, there's a bill there waiting for you of $400, $600, $1,000. And don't try to go to the dentist. Forget about it. This is untenable. It cannot stand. And we have enough money in this country to guarantee everybody universal health care as a human right. Stop. Michael, it's an economic justice issue because you having health care shouldn't be contingent on whether or not you got a job.
Yeah. Well,
these things are simple.
I don't know if this works. Okay.
We blowing out
I'm
all
going to do two quick follow-ups. Yes, but when you say Medicare for all, they're always dividing us, right? So I know that Democrats are going to be able to get it, but are you saying that Republicans can also get free health care?
I am. And I'm saying that survey after survey shows that across the political spectrum, the American people believe that we should have Medicare for all, a universal health care system. Imagine that. You know who's out of touch? The politicians.
Right.
Some of them, not all of them, because we got Justice Democrats, we have the Congressional Progressive Caucus, and even, let me let you guys in on something. Every single member, there have been 3 Congress people in the 11th Congressional District over the last 50 years. Every single one of them, Congressman Louis Stokes, Congresswoman Stephanie Tubbs Jones, and even Congresswoman Marcia Fudge was a co-sponsor on Medicare for all. Hello, somebody. But every congressperson, starting with Congressman Louis Stokes, supported universal health care. As a matter of fact, the model that Senator Sanders is using is connected to what Congressman Louis Stokes was fighting for and believing in. So let's go and keep that tradition going and elect a sister to Congress.
Second quick follow-up. I know they have universal health care in every other developed nation. I know free health care is possible because they do it all across the world.
Yeah.
Asian folks do it in Japan. White folks do it in Norway.
Canada.
Right north.
Yeah.
Right.
So, just for the folks at home and that watch mainstream media, right? White folks are going to get it, black folks are going to get it, Asian folks are going to get it, Latino folks are going to get it, everybody's going to get it, right?
And everybody in between,
Yeah, it's amazing that needs to be clarified.
No
they split
co-pays,
us
no
so
deductibles,
much.
no premiums. And guess what? You get to keep your doctor. Don't let them scare you about that because it's not government taking over the service. Dr. Dooley, can I get an amen? Amen. Okay, we got a doctor in the house. The doctor said, it's not like the government's not going to come in and try to take over Dr. Dooley's practice. She'll get to be able to service her patients. It's just how she bills. Dr. Dooley has told me countless stories about the staffing levels that she needs, not to service her patients, but to fill out the BS paperwork that comes along with the healthcare system that we have right now. And Michael and Cenk, let me let folks in on another secret. Businesses are going to benefit from this too. Hello, somebody. And especially small businesses. It's economic and it's moral. They go together.
Man, I'm ready to go vote. in matters of healthcare and finding justice in there, I learn every time you speak. I'd like to talk about infrastructure building and what's going to happen over the course of the next 20, 25 years. In my home state of Georgia, they're building a huge port so more ships can bring stuff in and out of the country. We're going to be probably building for the next 15, 20 years. We have 9 new companies there. Georgia's the home of the 3rd most Fortune 500 companies of any state, Atlanta, of any city. But what I don't see is a push for, in particular, high schoolers. And I'm gonna say this out of my community, I was selfishly self-interested because our girls go to college and our girls graduate college. Our boys are not going to post-secondary education. And that in particular brings my heart and want to talk about trades. I think there's a huge need in this country for skilled tradesmen, be they carpenters, brick masons, welders, and I think that places like Ohio, places like Michigan, places like Illinois, places like Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi are perfect places to approach teenage boys as they're still in high school, 14, 15, 16, and get them into what we used to do a long time ago. You could take mechanical drafting, you could take auto mechanics, you could take everything that prepared you at 18 to graduate in either apprenticeship or go directly into a job. Anybody heard of Lil Yachty? Amazing little rapper, right? So Lil Yachty is the richest person out of his high school class because he sings and dances. The second richest person is a young man who took a welding class in high school.
Come on.
Came out of high school making $71,000 a year while he's in college to be an engineer. So trade school didn't prevent him from doing college, but it actually gave him further access to be able to support himself and his parents while he goes to college. In terms of trade school, post-secondary education, what's your stance in terms of that? Because part of the brilliance of what I brought out of the Sanders campaign and what you were helping me understand is that if you invest in a child now, not just saying free lunch or we're going to change the curriculum in kindergarten, but if you take middle school and high school and you start to say, we're going to have trades and skills that these children can partake in so that when they graduate, it's actually like planting a seed and waiting 20 years for that seed to grow and give you bountiful fruit. You help me understand that. What do Americans need to understand about investing, not only in collegiate programs, which essentially give you debt after you get out, that Joe Biden promises to get rid of but doesn't. I'll call it, it's bullshit, Dad. What can we as a country do in terms of making sure our young men and women have an opportunity to participate as early as high school in trades programs? And is there anything in particular you would push to try to make that happen?
Yeah, definitely, Michael, to bring those programs back. You know, to me, I mean, I was a college educator. I was tenured college educator at Cuyahoga Community College, where futures begin. Let me shout out Cuyahoga Community College. And as a first-generation college graduate, I matriculated to Cleveland State University. Let me shout out CSU, too, because I don't want them to get in their feelings. So I love CSU, too. But, yeah, I mean, we have to, I mean, as a college educator, I must confess that for me, it was college. Not thinking that something was wrong with trades, but just college, because to become a cycle breaker and to be the first generation, and then to have my son walk across the stage and become a second generation, it's my vocation, college. But Michael, you're absolutely right. We have to bring that back into the schools so that students will have it. If they never have to use it, that's fine, but it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. And you know what another thing is? It is beautiful to be able to be a tradesman or tradeswoman or tradesperson because they make the world go round. Just need a plumber. Hello, somebody. Just need a carpenter. You ain't called for a lawyer. You called for a plumber. You know what I mean?
I have an amazing quote. I have argued with my lawyer over their hourly bill. I have never argued with my plumber because I don't want to clean up my own shit. Yeah, I've never argued with my plumber, ever.
That is beauty in all of that. And we make it, we have allowed people to get in our heads and this whole elitism. Did you go to college? And then it becomes, what institution did you go to? Well, I'm a public college educated girl and proud of it, okay? We'll do the dance with any of those others. And I'm not hating on them. All I'm simply saying is that our children that go to public colleges and universities are just as smart and just as good as our children who may have the benefit of going to a more prestigious institution. But see, this is how they divide and conquer. This is how they do it. So all of a sudden you went to college, your college and university is not good enough. You know, they do those things. So no, we got to get the trades back in schools, and I am definitely going to push for that. I did a lot of mentorship for high school students. I used to bring people, to career day with me. I brought the mayor of the city of Cleveland. I brought businessmen and women, nonprofit. Why? Because I wanted to expose our children to their possibilities. That's what this is about, and we need to get those trades and voc ed back. So when I talk about a paradigm shift in education, I mean pre-K to college and voc ed and tech training, all of that. That is what we should be funding in the United States of America.
So, first of all, let me back up what Nina and Mike are saying. The other day we had an issue at home with the bathroom. And the plumber's telling me how much it costs. I'm like, brother, I don't care how much it costs. You just gotta come here right now. Okay. You got a legal emergency. Wait till you have a plumbing emergency. So respect to all those people who do the hard work.
Yes.
And look, and everybody's different, right? And we took woodworking classes in high school, right? And it turns out not for me. Okay, I'm just not good at it. Right? And you got to find what's right for you. So that leads me to my dad, which is that, and it's this story that I want to ask you about is really the essence of this town hall and what I perceive to be economic justice. My dad was a dirt poor olive farmer. To give you a sense of how poor he was, eventually they sold the 10 olive trees. He just told me this weekend. Okay, I was just in Jersey actually just a couple of days ago. And I said, so what'd you get for the 10 olive trees that you guys had, right? He said, I got a bag of soap. Okay, so that's all it was. That's it. It wasn't worth much.
Like right now?
Yeah, no. Back when they sold it back in the 60s or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Somebody's like, here's a bag of soap. That's what it's worth, okay? They still have some of that soap. But if Turkey back in the 1960s didn't offer free college, I would be an olive farmer right now, still toiling over those same 10 olive trees, right? And so if Turkey can do it in the 1960s and throughout, right? Now when they tell us we can't do it, what they're saying is, for all of the people like my dad who had, it turns out, a world of potential, started a company in Turkey, started a company here, hired hundreds of people. It wasn't just that it was right for my dad, it wasn't just that it was moral, it also helped the economy. It helped the economy in Turkey when he started a company, it helped the economy here, etc. When they tell us, no, we're not gonna give you free college, you stay over that piece of dirt the rest of your life, they're telling us we're not good enough, right?
Yeah.
So, but yet, when you go on television, every single anchor will ask you, how are you going to pay for that, right? So how do we change that mindset so something like free college doesn't seem like it's a big giveaway, but rather is the investment into economic justice that we're all seeking?
But Cenk, I didn't hear anybody ask how we're going to pay for the tax cuts that we give the ultra wealthy in this country. When they start asking that question and answering it, then I'll answer the other question. We don't have to work within their frame. We're going to create a new frame. It is a social contract. It's our money. Okay? It's not their money. So when politicians, even myself, you stand up there and talk about the programs we push and all that, no, it is because the American people agreed. It's our money. So if we, the collective, want Medicare for all, we can have it. If we want a paradigm shift in how we educate, I mean, there was a point in time in this country's history where all of us were not allowed to get an education. Only certain of us were allowed to get an education. And then there was a paradigm shift. So in the same way that we pay for K through 12 education, let's expand that to pre-K and college and trade schools and voc ed and technical training, et cetera, and bam, we're gonna pay for it because we have a social contract to one another. We pay for it because for every child that we lift, every family that we lift, that is a city lifted, that is a state lifted, that is a nation lifted, that is the world lifted. It is an investment And that's how we got to see it. This ain't about giving away anything. This is an investment. Because to the extent that my neighbor and their children and their children are able to live a good life, then that increases the likelihood that mine, I mean, let's just be honest, we're going to do this for some selfish reasons too. Because I want you to be all right so I can be all right. Michael, you want to jump on in on that one? Yes.
I'm 100% with you on that. I sit here today, the great-grandson of Nathaniel and Truzella Blackman, who sharecropped. His father was using the Tuskegee experiment, unfortunately. And with that said, they managed to, as sons of daughters of people that had been enslaved, buy 25 acres in Tuskegee, Alabama. And every January, me and my sisters get a check for a few $100 because lumber companies buy trees and cut down. And I think to myself, if my great-grandparents had decided to buy a car, or decided to get indoor plumbing before their children did it for them, or decided to be very selfish and leave us nothing, then I would not, and I'm okay, I don't need the few $100. We usually donate it, make the kids either do something with it or donate it to a charity. But I understand the sacrifice my great-grandparents made. And when I talk to people about being willing to pay more taxes and stuff, because they charge me a little more on taxes, y'all. I say I don't mind paying the extra 10 cents. I don't mind you taking me from 39% tax rate to 49%. I care what happens to my dime.
Come on.
I don't want to buy another missile to drop on the country.
Yes.
I don't want it to go into another program that never gets to the ground to the people who need it. I would like to go directly to educating our children, because I, like my great-grandparents, realize I am planting a seed, and I may not be around to see that tree grow, but I know it's going to bear some good fruit. So I'd like to encourage all of us that when we go in with the selfish mind state of knowing if I elect a progressive, if I elect a S&T, or when I elect that person, that I am planting a seed that's going to produce fruits for generations and generations to come. And it's like my guy, I remember when I bought my wife some stock for Christmas. I just ran out of shit to buy, to be honest. I was like, I don't know what else to buy. I bought every shoe, purse, every car you could get. And I said, so what's the secret of buying stock? He said, whatever you buy, believe in, make sure it's of use to people, and be prepared to not look at it for 20 years. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He said, if you look at the stock market daily, you'll go crazy with the ups and downs. He said, but over 20 years, what we've seen is that you usually make about a 10% projection. Sometimes it gets cuter, sometimes not. But I start to think about my vote and my tax money that way. I don't mind paying an exorbitant amount of taxes for singing and dancing, but I do mind if my money is not being planted in a fertile ground in which people will benefit who are not related to me. Who don't look like me, who don't worship or call God the same name as I do. I need to know that those children are going to be invested in too. You seem, as a woman who lost her mother, as a woman who had to help raise siblings, as a woman who stands here proudly in front of her father today, you seem to be the result of many people from Cleveland and Akron's investment in you. And it seems to me you're simply saying to government, the policy that we want reflective of the people is that one of investing in people, not just investing in land, not just investing in money, not just investing in warfare, but investing in people. Could you talk to us more about that investment that you're going to make in Cleveland and Akron in order to make sure that we're sprouting and growing more doctors, more Ninas, and more people like the people in this crowd, and less like the fucking oligarchs in D.C.
Oh my God, I feel a quote coming on. People who know me know I love quotes. I was just thinking about something that Albert Einstein once said. I don't know if I have it 100% right, so forgive me, and let me confess that right now. But I think he said poisonous weeds and corn can grow in the same soil if the conditions are right. The conditions matter more than the soil. Absolutely. And we're talking about creating different conditions. And we can do this. Listen. Poverty is a policy choice. We can make new choices. And I want to be involved in helping to make different choices. I have traveled this country to help create different conditions, standing side by side with some of the greatest 21st century freedom fighters, that this country has to offer, both those whose names are known and those whose names are not known. And what I will say about the progressive movement, we're not perfect, nobody's perfect, but I double dog dare somebody to debate us on, well, why would you want everybody to have health care? Yeah. You know what I mean? What's wrong with you? Why you want folks to be able to go to the doctor and not go broke and file bankruptcy? Why is it that you want everybody's child, no matter what zip code they come from, to have education? What's wrong with you? Why would you want that? Why do you want everybody to have clean water, clean air, clean food? What's wrong with you? Why do you want the wealthy, who some of them not paying zero in federal taxes, to pay their taxes to put into the kitty so that everybody else can benefit? Why would you want that? See, that's how we have to have this conversation. So again, we can argue how to get there, but you can't tell me that what the progressive movement is standing for. See, really, we humanitarians. That's what we are. Why would you want people to be able to unionize? Why would you want that? Why do you want to kill the filibuster so we can get some laws passed? I mean, why would you want that?
Well, look, this is why people think Nina's a wonder, right? So many years spent discussing these issues, and nobody asked it in that way, right? And when you ask it in that way, doesn't it become super obvious, right? Isn't it amazing? And isn't it amazing that nobody else bothered to ask it that way, right? We're supposed to have a media in this country, and do they look like they're looking out for us? No. Right? So, but
Cenk, I'm sorry, to that point, because the questions that we get asked is what you just, how you gonna pay for it? Yeah. I remember telling the anchor, y'all can roll the tape. Sister got clips out there. I said, oh, we gonna pay for it the same way we pay for the tax cuts. That's how we gonna pay for it. We gonna pay for it in the same way that we give military industrial complex contractors. We don't take care of our veterans, but yet we gonna give these contractors all this money. That's how we gonna pay for it. What do you mean how we gonna pay for it? But you're right, Cenk. They don't asking me that asinine. And I'm gonna tell you something. What was going through my head is I can't believe they asking me this kind of question. How we gonna pay for it?
Yeah.
We have the money. See, they want us to think that there's no lack in want. We are blessed as a nation. What we're trying to make sure is that blessing flows to everybody else and not just the few. Isn't it heartbreaking, gut-wrenching, a damn shame? That's as far as I'll go, damn in hell, with my dad in here. That so few have so much, and so many have so little in the United States of America.
Yeah. Look, when we're watching cable news, sometimes you got to do a live show and stuff they're on, and they're talking about hey, should we attack Iran? And I think a lot of Young Turks fans are doing it with me as we scream into the television set. Ask them, how are you going to pay for it?
Right. That's right.
But they never do.
No.
But they never do. So now, Nina, you put it in a great way earlier. People are making choices, right? We have the money and we're making choices. And that's what it's supposed to be like in a democracy. And in some of the cases, we already made a choice, right? So, for example, Joe Biden said he was going to cancel student debt. Mike mentioned it earlier, right?
He lied.
Okay, hold on. So he said that he was going to do that, right? And people voted for him, so they said, yes, I like that choice you're making with our money, right? I don't want you to bomb Iran with our money. I want you to spend it on canceling student debt. I vote for you, so I vote yes. Right? They made that choice already. Now, if you challenge him from the left, a lot of people will say, oh no, but you're not being a good enough Democrat. But are you asking him instead to be a better Democrat? And to do the things that he promised those same Democratic voters?
Yes. That's what my district, for me, and I don't know about anybody else, but I'm gonna make this plain. If people wanna know what kind of Democrat I am a Congresswoman Shirley Chisholm Democrat.
Come on now.
And Michael was the first one to call me that. I am unbought and unbossed.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, If I ever have to make a choice between a party and the people who sent me there, I'm going with the people.
Hey.
And one other point I want to make on that, and I'm hoping that me and the president gonna get a lot of good things done together. See, folks are underestimating that. That's gonna happen. We're gonna get some good stuff done together. Yeah. But I tell you this, I don't worship at the feet of any party, any man, or any woman. Let's get this clear. I worship God and I serve the people. That's me.
I don't care how much money the other side raised. I worship God and serve the people. I've been having to read a lot about James Madison as I prepare for something. And he was one of the founding fathers. He was a slave owner. He was a white man. And he put out a complex set of ideas that this broken nation that was started by 1619, the evil of slavery. But even in the Federalist Papers, they talked about social justice. So a lot of times we get tricked. I used to listen to Neil Bortz's conservative down in Atlanta. Bad shit crazy, but entertaining listening. I listen to Hannity, who's not as smart as Neil. I listen to Rush, God bless the dead. Hope hell fits them good. But Madison talked about, or the Federalist Papers, it mentions social justice. So there has, for as long as this nation has existed, what are we at, about 247 years now? 247 years, that idea has been a part of this. So there's no shaming in saying social justice, because we are society and we are seeking justice. And the beautiful part of this protracted experiment called America is you get to adjust all along the way. Yeah. We know the 13th Amendment makes way for slavery by saying except for the prisoner. We never asked how we're going to get more money to build prisons, because now we've turned them into for-profit industries. That's something that can be fixed in our lifetime if we're determined to do it.
That's right.
We can't get politicians' attention. Well, if we all don't pay taxes on April 15th, I bet you they start knocking on our door and say, what happened? We're sorry, what happened? So I just would like to encourage us in supporting her to do it radically, to do it unapologetically, and to be fierce. I call her fearless leader. All right, when I talk to them, what's up, fearless leader? But that doesn't mean she doesn't get scared, because I'm sure she does. Yeah. Does not mean that she wasn't fearful when the Democratic Party pivoted and turned on her. Does not mean that when the woman who carries hot sauce in her bag decided to make her an enemy and put money in, and you ain't carrying no goddamn hot sauce in your bag. Your food ain't even seasoned. We can let your husband tell that. But I need to, by applause here, how many people are going to stand fearlessly with her? I'd like to know, by applause, who's going to help make 10 other people fearless and take those 10 people to the polls with you? I'm going to shut up, because I know we're going to close out in a bit. I want her to do this. I want her to get more of your ear than me. But I just want to say I took that flight up from Atlanta because I believe in you. And I believe in you because the fabric of this community in Cleveland and Akron has given the world, and your dad for talking your mom out of making love that day. Shouts out to Dad. You're the real hero here. But had those two beautiful people not made you, and had this beautiful community not produced you, I would not have a fearless leader to follow. So even though I can't vote here, I'll be back up here around election time. I'll be knocking on doors. I'll be helping drive vans. I'll do whatever it takes. So I don't have a question so much at the end as I have a challenge. I have a challenge to make sure that Cleveland rebounds, and by sending a fearless leader to DC. I have a challenge to make sure that Akron does what it's supposed to do in growth by sending a fearless leader to DC. I'd like to appreciate and applaud you all for getting her this far, but we got a little way to go to get her over the hump. And once we get her in, the job is not done. We must fight for what is right. Because there's no left and right. There's only right and wrong. And I'll be following my fearless leader all the day long. I appreciate you so much.
I'll turn it into a question. So I read the same James Madison, the same Federalist Papers, because I'm working on a book. The audience knows it's never going to come out. No, seriously. And the one thing that you might be surprised to find out is how many warnings they gave. They wrote a document and then they said, watch out. Okay, these are the things you got to watch out for. One was parties. Another one was money.
Yes.
But what's interesting is one of them was corporations.
Yes.
And what people don't remember is that the Founding Fathers actually started a revolution against a company. That's what the Tea Party was about, the original Boston Tea Party. They took the British East India Company's tea and threw it in the harbor.
That's right.
Because how dare you try to tax us without representing us?
Yes.
And how dare you have corporate control over our lives?
Teach that lesson.
Come on.
Yes. And so now, unfortunately, Nina, we are back again, right? And the corporations have taken over again. And they've taken over partly, obviously, through the money that flows through Washington. The corporate PACs that you don't take. Yeah. And they have grabbed big portions of both parties. Yeah. So now the really hard question is, in a sense, the same question that they faced. Now, we're not going to do it the way they did it, right? Obviously, that's different, right? But how do we take control of our government back from those same corporate, basically, overlords that the Founding Fathers warned us about that we didn't listen to?
Yeah, I mean, it's doing the work that Michael laid out there. It's not going to be easy, but it's righteous. And when I say righteous, I don't mean that in a way that puts anybody else down, but I'm talking about righteous in the love, in the sense of love. It's the righteous thing to do. And again, there are more of us than there are of them. One of the other beautiful things about Senator Sanders' campaign is that you had somebody to stand up and say, I'm going to run for president, and I'm not going to take that money. Yeah. And people thought, man, how you going to win? You're not serious? How you going to raise money? It was an experiment, really. It was a boldness to run for president for the very first time and to lean on the everyday people of this nation to fuel that campaign. And guess what? The American people, the everyday people in this movement stood up by his side, and we were able to raise that money, not once, but twice. So there are no excuses for anybody else running for any kind of office, because if you can run for the highest office of the land and be fueled primarily by everyday grassroots donors, average donation $27, then anybody can run a race like that. So we're changing the dynamics just by changing the model and how we operate. That's a win. And I'm raising money that way. The average donation is $27. Now, yeah, do I have some wealthier folks who are donating and who believe what we believe? See, we need some of them folks on our side. The patriotic millionaires and those types, you know, who said, tax me. You know, as long as my money is going for what's right. But I want to see more progressives in office, but the average donation is $27. So I'm not just talking the talk, I'm walking the walk, fueled by the people, so that the only special interest, I remember Michael saying this in 2016, the only special interest, he was referring to Senator Sanders, the same goes for me. My only special interests are the people. So it is happening. You have candidates all over the country, just like me, doing exactly the same thing. So that's one. Number two is there's an organization called American Promise, and I'm a board member, you know, on that board, not a paid board, a volunteer, let me throw that out there. Nothing wrong with paid boards. I just ain't never graduated, so I've never been on it. But 28th Amendment to the Constitution to try to correct Citizens United. So join organizations like that, and also fund candidates like me who need the people power to be able to compete, so that you get more people elected who have a certain kind of consciousness mindset, and that's how we're going to do away with this thing. So it's both on the track of this is formally how we need to do it, and informally the way we're doing it is what the people are doing right now, which is donating that $3, that $5, that $10, that $11, that $27 to candidates just like me all over the country. Get us elected, and we can be able to on the inside, because we need inside outside.
Yep. Yeah. So I want to set Mike up for the next question. So First of all, on American Promise is a great organization. They're actually one of the top allies of Wolfpack. They're good guys. There's a lot of folks who are fake, trying to get money out of politics while they're pouring it in. But American Promise and Wolfpack do an amazing job. So help those folks out if you can, because 28th Amendment is everything. If we don't get money out of politics, we're constantly, they're sending tidal wave after tidal wave of corporate Democrats, corporate Republicans, et cetera. Now, but of course, look, we're all more sophisticated than the black and white issues that you see on television, right? So companies aren't a bad thing. Public corporations buying off the government is a bad thing,
right? That's right.
So I've got a company, and I hope that what we do is something wonderful in the world, right?
Yes.
And we try to bring a little bit of truth into the world and try to bring a little bit of positive change. And Mike, I know you care a lot about, as a lot of us do, about black-owned businesses. And I wanted to see if you wanted to ask about, how those could be held up.
Just quick, I'll give you this. So most black-owned businesses are sole proprietorship. So I want to encourage black people and white people who are working to build business to congregate and talk about that more. And I say that, I've got a minute left, I'm gonna get out your way. There's a white woman I saw crying on television. She's a sole proprietor. California would not allow her to open her restaurant, but allowed a movie studio to open 4 or 5. It broke my heart because I, who own a barbershop with my wife, understood exactly. I remember when we got refused for PPP twice and heard Ruth Chris got $35 million the next day. Man, I'm rich and I cried. I was like, oh my God. So what can we do, or what is possible in your mind federally to help black, small, and medium-sized businesses or sole proprietor businesses, as though it would then help black people and across the board sole proprietor?
Well, it's first of all, making sure that the Small Business Administration, one size does not fit all.
Yeah.
And so we need to recognize that in government as we're programming to have conversations and to see what you saw, which is that white lady crying over the fact that she could not open her business. There was a salon owner too, lots of the salons, barbershop salons, all of those masseuses, all of those types of businesses were disrupted in a deeper way than others because of the type of services that they provide. There is promise in this problem, Michael. That's what I want people to see. The pandemic showed us the way that we can do things differently. So one of the things that the federal government, make sure we have more grant programs. Yeah. Now the grant should be tied to this must be accomplished by such and such date, right? Because we want to make sure that the taxpayers' money is being invested in a way that will yield bounty, but how we measure that should be in a way that gives that company the best opportunity to succeed and not the other way around. It's using the Small Business Administration as a laboratory in a way to how we deal with businesses who may not necessarily have all of the infrastructure, being accounting and all those other things that you have to have a thriving business. It's looking at things that community banking is another way. Let's have types of banks that will specialize in helping businesses that might not fit the upper echelons of the portfolio, but if they're given a real opportunity and given the resources, they will be successful. And guess what? They'll hire lots of different people that may or may not get hired at a mainstream corporation, thereby pouring into that community. I believe that the post office should be a banking institution as well. Michael, you started a very successful, along with partnership, Greenwood.
Yes.
There's an organization called the Black Bank Fund Foundation. And the job of those entities, they have a little different mission. The mission is to help as many people, and not in the way that is the prim and proper way, is all your paperwork together and all of that kind of stuff, but is to sit down and talk with these business owners to figure out how we can be helpful. Black businesses still have there's still a liquidity crisis too for black banks, black businesses, 41% of black businesses went out of business since COVID. I've sold proprietorship too. I just kept going into government, so wasn't able to put a lot into that, but, starting a business of my own and wanting to see it flourish. Another reason why we need Medicare for all. I'm glad you asked. Yeah. More people would go out on their own and open up businesses if they didn't have to worry about where their health care was going to come from.
Yep. Now, That's 100% right. Because I remember when we started. I mean, we had no money, nothing. We were doing it out of my living room, and so I mean, look. But I always come back to my dad, because if he never got a chance at justice, we're still poor, and then people look down on us and say it's your fault for being poor. But it turns out when you gave him a chance, he was amazing, right?
That's right.
And there's so many more of you out there, right, that are so amazing, and you just never got that chance. That's why we call it justice. That's why we're seeking economic justice, right? And that's why what Senator Turner is saying here is so, so important. By the way, also watch Trigger Warning, okay?
Me too.
So that's Killer Mike's Netflix special, but I'm not kidding. It's related to this,
Yeah,
right?
it is.
Because he did a great segment on black-owned businesses. And I wouldn't have been as hardcore as you were. As soon as you hit that bench, I was like, no, you got to get up. I'm like, go to the hotel. Mike, I'm like, Mike, go to the hotel. It's okay.
I never wanted to be white so bad in my life. I wanted to be white like when I was 5, and I wanted to be Batman.
But you'd be proud. And Nina and I had dinner last night, and we went to a black-owned business. Which
The
you guys should
Breakfast
go.
Club.
The Breakfast Club and the Vegan Club. Okay, they're black-owned.
Shaker Square.
They're here in Cleveland. Go check them out. They're amazing.
Yeah.
And we thought of you, Mike.
Yes, we did.
One of the greatest things that come out of that to me was I follow hot rods and cars. I like cars a lot, which oftentimes puts you around people who don't look like you or not from your economic background. But they closed the Atlanta dragway in north of Atlanta. And there was a white woman that came up to me with her husband. I knew he was her husband because he was walking behind her holding something for it. And, husband club over
I didn't
here.
laugh.
And she says, Michael, and she said, Michael? I said, yes, ma'am. She says, I want to let you know sometimes it's harder than other times, but every Friday I make him take me to a black business. Usually it's just a restaurant, but we go. And she had watched the show.
Come on.
Now, stereotypically, you don't think of white Southerners as caring, but they do. Stereotypically, you think that you're going to see rebel flags everywhere. That's NASCAR, and that's not even NASCAR anymore. It's not drag strip. But it put two people of different ages, of different socioeconomic backgrounds together, and it put us in a place where she got a chance to say, I saw your challenge, I accepted it, and I'm living up to it. So again, I leave you guys with the challenge today. Because unlike a lot of other states, Ohio, I've seen more racially mixed people. I've seen more people side by side that are not from the same backgrounds from an ethnicity standpoint. Ohio transforms, because I grew up in all black everything. I didn't even see white people in real life till Mr. Rogers, right? So I need you guys to understand that since the days of John Brown to now, you guys are on the ground progressive just by way of the way you congregate with one another. And my challenge is to get this woman in office, to get our fearless leader in office, and let's begin to change the fabric of this country in a way that we can.
All right, we're going to go to audience questions now. Although I just got to jump in with one quick thing. Muslim-owned businesses, is this a mic issue again? All right, you guys can hear me. Muslim-owned businesses, is that an issue? Nina and I were just talking about that.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if there was like a neighborhood where Muslims own all the shops? It's like, yeah, I grew up in Turkey. Everybody was Muslim. So yes, I can easily imagine it.
Yeah.
All right, Allison, who's up? Is it Jason?
Yes.
All right, come on up, ask your question.
My question is for Nina. I got kind of a softball question starting off here. There's so many issues going on right now, and I just need to know what is going to be your main focus of these issues going forward. Which ones are going to be the ones that you are going to fight the hardest for? I see a lot of progressives right now that we're doing a good job at first, but seem to be laying down right now and keeping pretty quiet. And I want to know how you're going to fight for all these issues, how you're going to get anything passed.
Yeah. Which I thank you for that. Was it Jason? Jason, yeah. I mean, it's multifaceted. It's not just one thing that is going to work. The beautiful thing about me running for this seat is that I've been on assignment. I'm not just getting on assignment. I've been on assignment in this district and across the country, fighting for the very things that I'm running on right now. All of them are important because if there's a quality of life component to them, they're important. Definitely increasing the minimum wage to $15 an hour. It should have been in the COVID relief package. We have an opportunity to get that in our time, really, like right away. And so that is something that I care deeply about. And we know that economists have said, or said time and time again, that if the minimum wage had kept pace with inflation or productivity, it'd be closer to $25 an hour than it is to $15 an hour. $15 an hour is already the compromise position. Let's do that. And then where there are businesses that may struggle, I mean, as Michael laid out, most black businesses and other small businesses and other communities are sole proprietorships. Well, then we don't have to worry about the sole proprietorship. We're not looking to put a burden that's too heavy for smaller businesses to bear. But you can't tell me that, the Amazons of the world, and even though we know that they paid that $15 an hour is not enough. Right.
Ain't shit.
That's the truth. But these mega corporations crying about raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour for 12 years in this country, the minimum wage has not increased. It stayed at that same $7.25. But meanwhile, back on Main Street and ranches and communities all across this country, the ultra wealthy made money hand over fist during the pandemic when people lost their jobs, they lost their health care, some people lost their homes, folks are about to be evicted right now in mass in this country. And you mean to tell me that's not a 911? Because I'm going to be honest with you, Congress should not go on recess until we deal with some of these issues. I don't know if I answered this question, but I tell you this is going to be a multi-pronged approach to a build up to dealing with all the things that ail us. And it doesn't all have to happen on the federal level. We got states that can do the right thing. Yep. We got municipalities who can do the right thing. Well, listen, I served on the city level. I served on the state level. There are states across this country that are doing the things that the federal government doesn't have the courage to do. So we're going to do this on all levels of government until the federal government does the right thing. Hello, somebody. Hi, Diane from Our Revolution. Big ups to Our Revolution.
So the question I have for you today is, with the extreme poverty here in the district, what resources can you bring back to the district to help us?
Well, the $15 an hour minimum wage is one of those things. It is making sure that workers can unionize without fear of being roughed up, psychologically roughed up by their employers. So the PRO Act is vitally important. We know that labor unions lift all people's wages. Unfortunately, private labor in the private sector, labor jobs have gone down. I think it's at about 6% right now. So we need to make sure that workers can collectively bargain for their wages and their work conditions, because that lifts all of us. So really pushing for that. And again, I go back to Medicare for all. These things all fit. It's not just a one-size-fits-all. The Green New Deal, an excellent way for us to try to undo the damage that we've done to Mother Earth and also put people back to work while doing it. Isn't that a good thing? And in Akron, they have an economic development plan that was put together by the city, by the county, and also the Chamber of Commerce. And it's good. I know sometimes in the progressive circle, when we say Chamber of Commerce, you're like, what? But to see government come together with the private sector to figure out how to change things. So they have a plan for housing. They also have a plan that recognizes the African American community is suffering disproportionately. Isn't that wonderful to have those entities come together and say that? They have a plan to try to work to stem the tide of gun violence. See, when conscious-minded people come together, see, I don't care how you come together, where you hail from, as long as we coming together to do the right thing. So that is also a model that we can follow that is right now being implemented in Akron. In Cleveland, in terms of climate justice, Cleveland just totally redesigned their climate plan. And now it's about planting trees. You might say, well, Sister Turner, how does planting trees? Because urban areas are hot. They don't have as many trees as our suburban areas. You plant more trees. That helps with the environment, and it also helps. There's a psychological thing about being in areas where there are trees and grass. It's just something that takes over you. So that has an economic component. There's a job component attached to that. And then also imagine this, that 50 of your neighbors, that you all share the same solar panel grid. Oh my God, the city of Cleveland has that kind of plan that I believe could be a model for all across this country. So we do right by Mother Earth, we put people to work. These things are not mutually exclusive. There is an intersectionality. I learned that from a professor. There's an intersectionality to all of these things.
Yeah.
My question is for Cenk. So when you think about the difficulties in passing policy right now, one of the main problems is the 50-50 split in the Senate. And so my question is, how large of a majority in the Senate plus the House do you think the Democrats need in order to get the bare minimum policies passed, such as $15 minimum wage, public option, voting reform, and basic gun control laws?
You need 50 plus 1, as long as that 1 is Nina Turner. No, seriously, look, first of all, Nina was talking about what Cleveland's doing with energy, and you said a lot of people can learn from that. Texas can learn from that.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
So when you let, look, all three of us have companies. So Mike says this all the time, go start your own business.
Yes.
We're gonna try to help you. We're gonna try to back you up. There's nothing wrong with business,
No,
okay?
not at all.
But there's something wrong with them taking over the government,
That's right.
The government's
That's
supposed
exactly
to represent us, not them, right? And so now when it comes to representing us, yes, we have majorities in that the Senate, good enough, you know, with Kamala Harris obviously being the tiebreaker, and the House and the presidency now. And that's why a lot of you are motivated to go now, because what if we lose the majority in 2022, which is what usually happens in a midterm election with any incumbent president, the other party usually wins the House. And that's why I framed the question the way that I did to Senator Turner earlier. It's not about being against Democrats or for Democrats. It's how can you be a better Democrat?
That's right.
Right? And so what we need help from you guys for, and that's why I don't mind answering this one question, is even though the town hall is about Senator Turner, is that we need you to back us up when we're doing it the right way, right? So when we say, hey, listen, this $15 minimum wage is a winnable fight, okay? And now you've got a fighter in there who's going to say, hey, listen, I'm going to be a fearless leader, right? And because it isn't easy. It really, really, really isn't easy. So as much as I get frustrated sometimes with the folks in Congress, and I love them, but I get frustrated, best example is Bernie, because there's no question that I got nothing but love for Bernie in my heart, right? And everybody knows that. And why do I have that? Because he earned it. He earned it over 40, 50 years of doing the right things. But if he's pursuing a wrong strategy, I got to say with love, right? No, we need a vote on this one. We really do, okay? This is not something that is pie in the sky. This is not something that the Democrats say they're against. No, every Democrat says they're for it. Almost every Democrat, right? So let's go try to make that happen. So when I call for your help, but more importantly, if Nina wins, when she calls for your help,
When she wins.
when she wins, and when she calls for your help, because she's going to. Because no matter how fearless she is, and no matter how much of a leader she is, she cannot do it without you guys. It's impossible to do it without you guys. But with you, she brings an army. She brings such force that she will be a force to be reckoned with because of you.
Come on.
Because of you, okay? And look, I know there's a lot of pressure on Nina because, you know, you can't, when she wins, everybody thinks, okay, magic, the rivers are going to part and and we got it. And all of a sudden we got Medicare for all and Green New Deal and all of those things. Of course, that's not how it works. But we are going to get there. and we're going to get there in a smart, strategic, and strong way, but none of it is possible without you. So, and I'll guarantee you this, once Nina starts that spark and you guys fan the flames in a positive way, in the right way, you know, and civil rights leaders had a phrase for this, and we're going to go back to that phrase because it's right. It's starting good trouble.
Come on,
Okay.
Congressman Don Lewis.
And when she starts that good trouble and you back her up, here's what you're going to see, and I guarantee it. Everybody else in Congress that has good intent, that are good people, right? They're going to step up and go, oh, thank God, finally. Okay, let's do this. I knew we could do it. I knew we could do it, right? And that one person makes a giant difference because it unleashes so many other people. They're already in Congress. They just need a little bit of help, a little nudge in a wonderful, friendly way. And I know a certain leader that might be able to give them that nudge. And again, not to say that they're doing anything wrong, not to say that they don't have wonderful intent. And I use Bernie as an example because I think everybody in this room knows he has the best of intents, right? But we could be a little tougher. We could be a little bit more aggressive. And it's not to be aggressive. It's not just fighting for fighting's sake.
Right.
It's strategic to make sure that we fight for those things, because when we fight, history shows us we always win, right? Every part of it. Civil rights, what is it? Progressive, we won, right? Women's rights. That was only 100 years ago. Yeah. No women could vote. How the hell are you going to win on getting women the right to vote when women can't vote? That's impossible. But we did it, and it is we. It was progressives. And yes, we were fought by conservatives.
Yes, we were.
Tooth and nail, we were fought by conservatives, and we won because we win every time. We just need one person to get that train rolling down the station.
Today's the 60th
All right.
anniversary of marriage equality today.
And marriage equality, that's right. And look, I'll say one thing about that too, real quick, and I'm going to hand it back to the audience. Don't get me started. I'm a talk show host. Okay. So, look, the guy who started that in a sense was Joe Biden, right? In 2013, when he came out and he pushed President Obama to go in the direction of equal rights for gay marriage, right?
Yes.
Now, a lot of us in this room and at home that's watching this, we were there a little earlier, right? Maybe decades earlier, right? But when someone comes to you with good intent, receive them with open arms.
That's right.
Right? So we thank President Biden for leading that effort back then.
Yeah.
We wish it would have been quicker, but at least he did it. And at least he got that ball rolling. And when you get that ball rolling, you'd be surprised that now everybody thinks it's totally normal. Of course, gay folks are going to have the same rights as straight folks. Why wouldn't they have the same marriage rights? That doesn't make any sense, right? All we got to do is get started. All right.
All right, my name is Robert Cromer, and this question is for everybody. So,
Mike, I'm gonna let you,
how
because
can
you
we
have to
achieve
talk.
economic justice when the system that we live in is so stacked against us? Capitalism seems to be falling apart or failing, or so unstable that nobody can be happy for any period of time. Socialism is being propagandized so that no one in America even understands what it is. How can we unite with people on the right around an economic plan that benefits both sides?
I have often been quoted as saying I'm a compassionate capitalist. And I remember being, 7th, 8th grade when you learn about, what do they call it? When one person takes over one industry.
Monopoly.
A monopoly. And the second, when only 2 or 3.
Oligopoly.
An oligarchy.
Oligarchy.
The oligarchy is when it's what we have now. We're a political class. But when you have the ability for 1 or 2 major corporations to run something, then what you run into is what we have now: buy-in of politicians, capitalism that would rather pay people $7.25 when they know they deserve 15 or more. I think the answer to some of that, just as a base minimum, just regular constituent, not a guy that made money singing and dancing, is local. I wanted pizza, I didn't go to Pizza Hut, I went across the street. That building has probably been there 30, 40 years, probably gonna be there 30, 40 more years if we support it. That building probably hires 30, 40 people over the course of some years. That building is going to replicate into maybe 10, 12 others, but I don't have to support a corporation that has 300 stores. I do not have to give my money to corporations that fund politicians to undercut me. I don't have to do that. In matters of socialism, my sister has a community garden. She feeds about 7, 8 families. That's socialist in its structure. The public school system, free lunch, was taken from a communist organization. They took free lunch from the Panthers.
Yeah.
Said, damn, that's a good idea. Let's kill all them and take the lunch program. It is not up to people who are currently prostitutes of the corporate class, and I mean most people under the gold domes. It's not up to them to give us the solution. It is up to us to show them the solution. And the solution is what you guys are doing in Cleveland. You guys got the new, got a lot of money from medicine coming in. But I've seen with that, local businesses do sprout back up. I've seen with that, people who are not in communication communicate. And I think that we have the ability in this country to decide socially what matters. Healthy people matter. So let's socialize medicine.
Come on.
A better school system matters. So what our schools have turned into are just test-taking centers in which we allocate money. Our school systems need to turn back into places of education. Financial education,
Yes.
right? Everything from how to take care of a checkbook to how to invest your first $100 could be taught in school. Trades and vocations, which I'm particularly, gung-ho about, can be taught in schools. So we can do it, but we have to think local, local, local. Before I march in the White House to try to change Joe Biden's mind, can I change my city councilman's mind?
Come on.
Can I make sure that my state representatives, my local representatives are representing what I want, the morals and ideas and principalities, not in whatever the total line Republicans or the Democrats are saying you have to do nationally. So think locally. Think so locally that your county commissioners and city council are scared to do dumb shit. And I did not learn that from reading the Federalist Papers. I did not learn that from watching my heroes like Dr. King. I learned that from a woman named Ms. Betty Kluntz, where if she had an issue with her city council person, her 40-something-year-old self and my 5-year-old self was right there in the office all day. Well, he's not going to be able to see you today, Ms. Kluntz. I'll wait till tomorrow if I have to, but he's going to have to pass me to leave. So I just want to encourage you to be tenacious locally.
Come on.
And not only be tenacious yourself, partner with people who do not look like you, who are not from your ethnic background, so that they can't look around you and say, well, it's just white men complaining. No, the fuck it's not. No. It's a lot of us complaining.
Yes.
So stay vicious locally. Aggravate them so much they get scared to do the wrong thing. They go up to DC to say, well, we're going to vote against this today. Well, hold on, I got to go back home. I can't go back home. So local, because truly, like that t-shirt I wear, if you plot, plan, strategize, organize, then mobilize, you are unstoppable. You are the battery in this country's back. You're the battery in terms of workforce and labor. You're the battery in terms of your tax dollar. And you're the battery in terms of determining which way this nation will go. But we have to plot, plan, strategize, organize, and mobilize. I think if we moved as an organized front, it'll be. Most Americans understand there's nothing wrong with making some money. No, most Americans don't have any problem with Walter T. Williams. They understand goods and services and products. But most Americans want enough for free education.
Come on.
Most Americans want to have health care that's not going to drive our family out of debt and throw us off the next 100 years. So I think that there's a middle ground there that we can all find, but we won't find it only in the rooms with the people we're usually in. We got to get in some rooms with some different people and share some thoughts and ideas.
Amen.
So let me only add just one quick thing. Bernie calls it democratic socialism. I call it democratic capitalism, but it's the same thing. Very close to the same thing. The idea is you need democracy to check capitalism.
Come on.
Okay? So it's not to say that you shouldn't have companies who now we've said that 10, 20 times, right?
Yes.
But you need, the companies can look out for themselves. That's their job. The job of the CEO is to look out for the company, right? So what we need from our government is to look out for us. Right? And when you're doing that, sometimes it's by helping small businesses,
That's
right?
right. That's
and
right.
sometimes it's by saying, no, big business, you're not allowed to do that.
That's
Okay?
right.
It's called laws, it's called regulations. And what are laws meant to do? They're meant to protect you,
That's
right?
right.
So what do we socialize? We socialize things that are meant to protect you. The fire department, that's social. It's not privatized. Police department, not privatized.
Right.
That's social.
EMS.
Because EMS, exactly, socialized because it protects your life. What else protects your life? Healthcare.
Yes.
Okay. We can't say, hey, you're in a burning building, but hey, you didn't buy the right private insurance. We're going to let you burn to death. But we do say, hey, you got cancer, you didn't buy the right insurance. We're going to let you die from that cancer. That's crazy.
Yeah,
we need the government to look out for us because it's supposed to be of the people, by the people, for the people.
Amen to all of that. And I want to add that we have a very good motto happening in the United States right this minute. It's called getting the COVID-19 vaccine in arms. Top priority of the president, now to at least get one shot in every adult's arm by 4th of July or so. How are we doing that? With the same fervor and determination, sending out neighbor to neighbor, having conversations with people about why it's important to get that vaccination. We can take that same fervor, that same tax. Who's paying for that? The taxpayers are paying for that. Who paid for the research to be done for the vaccine to be created in the first place? We did. So when folks tell you that we can't have Medicare for all, we got one of the best examples in real time right now, and that's getting shots in arms. If we can get shots in arms, we can expand that and make sure that we have Medicare for all in the United States of America. It's not hard, we can do it. And on the business side, yes, 3 of us own businesses, and I'm glad that Cenk and I'm glad Michael, like we're saying this ad nauseum, because sometimes Democrats cede territory to business and business growth and business development to the Republican Party. We need everybody. So when I go to Congress, I'm representing everyday citizens, I'm representing corporate citizens, I'm representing faith-based citizens. You know what I ask of folks? To be on the justice journey. Now, we can do that. And that doesn't mean that we're always going to agree, but we need businesses to do the right. There is a way to do well and do good at the same time. They're not mutually exclusive. The thing of it, we've been programmed to think that they're mutually exclusive. We can take companies like Aveda. I'm giving Aveda for an example, not a commercial for Aveda, but I happen to like Aveda. And one of the reasons why I like Aveda is because they plant trees. You know? So I'm thinking, how do I spend my money? They plant trees. I care about trees being planted. The Body Shop is another example. Some of the ingredients that they use in their lotions and their soaps, they go to other countries that need that micro business model where women, for example, have small businesses. So whether it's the Sheba, the cocoa and all of that, they get it from other places, but the model by which they use to get it is very small, women-owned or otherly owned companies that do this, so that now they're using a global United States model to be able to help some business owners in other countries who, but for the need for that supply, wouldn't have that. So the Body Shop, for the most part, unless they've done something to transgress that I don't know about, is a B Corp. And B corporations tend to be more socially conscious. So there is a way to do well and do good. And guess what? If Mr. Bezos wants to do the right thing, hey, we welcome that too. Now, some folks got to be pushed to do the right thing. And that's why, we went to Bessemer, Alabama to stand in solidarity with our sisters and brothers and family and friends there, because what happens over there happens over here. There are 3 Amazon plants in the 11th congressional district. Don't think, and I've talked to some workers who work at Amazon facilities in this district who are catching the same type of hell. So if I turn my back on what's happening in Bessemer, Alabama, when it comes time to help organize here, who's gonna come and help us organize? What happens over there happens over here. What happens in Ohio happens in Iowa. What happens in Iowa happens in California, happens in New York, happens in Illinois, happens in Georgia. People from all walks of life, all identities. If they catching hell, we catching hell. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King said it better than anybody, that what affects one directly affects us all indirectly. So we're not compassionate. capitalism. Cenk, you call it
Democratic capitalism.
democratic capitalism. All we are saying is that elected officials should not be able to be bought and sold by corporations, and that they answer to them before they answer to the people. Government should be the referee on this stuff. If somebody's polluting the water, you don't take their money. You fine they behind, and you make sure they do right by the people that they just poisoned. And if they can't do that, then they got to go. I mean, it's just as simple as that. So we're not saying that we're not anti. We very much pro doing the right thing, corporations. Pay your people. Don't pollute the water and the food and the air. Don't fly off to Mars or wherever the hell he going. Because they just gonna monk it up there too. We can't let them go up there and muck that up too. We gotta get this right down here before they go off gallivanting into the galaxy.
All right.
Y'all give it up, man. Y'all give it up. Give it up. Give it up.
All right. Let me say one final word about it, everybody here. First of all, if you told people I went to a forum filled with 3 progressives talking about economic justice, what did they talk about? Oh, supporting small businesses. You might not have expected that, right? But you know what? Open up. I want everybody at home. Open up your minds a little bit. You might get something you didn't expect, right? And what Senator Turner talked about all day long is we're not doing this just for us. We're doing it for everybody. So when you get higher wages, Republicans get higher wages too.
Yeah.
When you get health care, Republicans get health care too, right? So we're doing it for everybody. And I love you mentioned the trees. I'll do a quick shout out for our guys, Aspiration.
Aspiration, yes.
Okay. Another great financial institution that's progressive. And I'm not saying it just because they're a sponsor. I'm a customer. Every time I swipe that thing, I'm like, planting another tree. Okay.
I mean, Joe Sandberg planted 5,000 trees for me.
See,
hello, somebody.
Yeah. So for those of you at home who didn't hear her because she didn't have a mic, Joe Sandberg planted 5,000 trees for her, right? But I planted 6 trees today because I'm swiping. Okay.
Right.
Okay. But guys, the most important thing is the government is for us. Okay. Yeah. So everybody check out Trigger Warning, Run the Jewels. You know it all, right?
Hey, Cenk, let me ask, Michael, is Trigger, are you coming to a different season or?
Yeah, I was just waiting on them to give me some white folk money.
Okay.
We are in negotiations for Trigger Warning 2, and I am in the process of developing a very cool television show, 2 television shows that I think you guys will like, and I'll be singing and dancing, opening for Rage Against the Machine on their world tour.
Hey, listen, we love Tom Morello too. Lots of great progressives in the music industry. And so for all of you at home, if you want to get involved in the community, Mike talked about going local, Senator Turner talked about it, tyt.com/community, okay? tyt.com/community, because you get involved, we'll show you how to get involved and how to make a difference, okay? And finally, apparently there is a race that's going to happen sometime soon. And so if you're watching this and you care about knowing things, which I hope you do, you go to ninaturner.com and you'll find out all of Nina's positions, policy, etc. Okay, so that everybody check that out. And obviously the race is right around the corner. August 3rd
is election day, but early vote starts on July the 7th.
Early voting starts July the 7th, okay? Yeah. And of course, election day is August 3rd. No matter how you're going to vote, make sure that you do vote. That's right. That's the most important thing of all. So I want to thank Killer Mike and most especially Senator Nina Turner. Thank you.
My brother,